Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Monday. So this is the time of year where you're going to run into some tough days. It doesn't matter where you're at. You could be down here in Florida. You could be up north, but the fishing's changing, not for the better. And it just gets tough this time of year. I fished a lot of tournaments in the month of October and November, and there's something about going out and catching more than 5 bass that weigh 10 pounds. It just doesn't happen for everybody. And if you're not careful, you try to gamble too much or you try to do something that's not smart, you're going to have a really tough day on the water. And before you know you've messed up, it's too late because you just don't get enough bites when you're doing the right thing. So let's talk about fishing off the back of someone else's boat. I did that for a lot of years. I got to fish with Randy Blockett, Larry Nixon, some of the best guys that have ever been in bass fishing. I fished with Luke Clausen, who's a classic winner. The list goes on and on and on. I'm going to talk about that more in the future because I really do have a lot of really cool stories fishing with those guys. But here's the deal that I learned being a co-angler for all these years in these tougher tournaments is if you have an opportunity to lock one bait in your hand and just roll with it all day, that's what you should do in these tougher lakes, tougher times of the year. Now, that doesn't always work because if you're fishing a really steep lake, you can't just pick up a fluke and be effective dragging a fluke around all day. It's just not going to work. You need something that's going to get to the bottom that can fish down the side of those steeper banks. But if you're in the flats and you're on the cover and structure that is flat, this is going to be what I'm going to throw this time of year. So the key, if you take anything from this video, is some type of soft plastic. It's going to be a Senko in the springtime. It's going to be a fluke in the fall time. And the Senko is still going to work in the fall. Fluke's still going to work in the spring. But for me, it's all about something you can fish slow and on the bottom. Now, in the fall time, when fish are up in the water column a lot, they're chasing bait, you're not always going to have the perfect opportunity to throw a fluke. So steeper lakes, that drop shot with the pink robo worm on it, still going to be a really killer bait this time of year. But I want to talk more about just the whole philosophy of it. Now, there are a couple common denominators here, like the pink drop shot. If you don't throw that a lot and you fish out of the back of other people's boats, you should, because that's one technique that I've been beat on it, not only on Cumberland, Lake Cumberland in Kentucky, Wheeler Lake in Alabama, Lake Toho in Florida on spawning fish. And then I've also done some work behind guys with that worm plenty of times as well. So that's just one of those reoccurring baits that I kind of get nervous when someone pulls it out and I don't have one rigged up. So I try to keep that rigged up year round because I've just taken too many lessons on that. But the whole thing is slow moving soft plastics on the bottom, and don't try a bunch of different things. Don't try a spinner bait. Don't try a lipless crankbait. Don't try all these other baits because you might have to throw them all day to catch a bass. So that would be the key for me if I'm fishing with somebody else and I know it's a tough bite, which it typically is. You can pretty much rule out that it's going to be easy. If you get in a flat, you can rule out all those deeper fishing baits like the drop shot. And if you have slick, calm conditions, which aren't favorable for fishing, that's when you go with a soft plastic jerk bait. Don't worry about any of those other baits, because we always have to realize, even though we may love a lipless crankbait, we may love a spinner bait, those are wind dependent. We may love a crankbait, we may love a swim jig and a chatterbait, but those are clouds dependent. So there's these techniques that you see a lot about, you probably have a lot of confidence in, but if you don't have the right day to throw them, especially on a tough lake, on a tough day, you're not going to catch any. And you have to remember, you're not getting the first cast at these fish. You're on the back of the boat, so you don't have the best angles. You kind of just take what you can get back there. A lot of times I throw directly over the outboard. That seems like that's sometimes the least fished water, and that will produce some bites when you can't catch them any other way. And then you can slow it down. So fire it right over the back of the outboard, pull some line off your reel, dead stick it. You can work it a little bit after you let it sit there for 20 seconds, then let it lay on the bottom again. You will be surprised. Even in the fall, when you don't have fish spawning, you don't have fish that are really relating to the bottom like they do in the spring and the summer, you will still catch bass. It's all about getting the right color and then just being patient. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.